Alright, welcome to Troubleshooting. Got my rig up here, CGX mount from Celestron. I got my EdgeHD 8-inch from Celestron. Yeah, before I have this mount, I have the CGEM also from Celestron. Feel like a Celestron fanboy, really. And well, I got my old CGEM used, and it was hypertuned by the previous owner. It was working really well for a while, but it felt a little bit iffy, like, you know, I understood why he got rid of it. Like, it's had its limitation in guiding, and it felt like it was having a little bit of issues, problems, really. I always looked at some other replacement for that mount, and I wanted to get something new to me, really. And I was looking at this, and I was looking at a few others from competitors that were similar spec, and well, this one anyway. I liked the Nexstar hand control. I liked the system. I was really sold on the spring-loaded worm gear meshing. I thought it felt like a really good idea, like to minimize or smoothing out periodic error and maybe even backlash, and yeah, so that felt like a good idea. So even though it was like priced over like $1,000 over the others, $500 to $1,000, I must say, it won. So I received it about 4 months ago, mid-December 2019. And I was as happy as a boy could be, really. Yeah, it was maybe the best day in months. Look at that. Well, there's a few other things in the box here. I couldn't wait. So I put it together, and I immediately hit a speed bump as soon as I turned it on, pretty much. It was this buzzing sound. I can't help to start wondering about that sound from the declination motor. Yeah, that ended up being the feedback loop, and just doing a firmware upgrade cured that. So we need to get back to the firmware upgrade, though, because that's not really a can of worms that we have closed up just yet. Anyway, I got it outside anyway, though, and took it for a test spin, and I pretty much immediately noticed that when I did the guiding calibration in PhD and the PhD 2 guiding assistant, it just couldn't do a proper measurement of the declination backlash. Yeah. So I tried pretty much everything. They have like the instructions for doing the worm gear meshing in the manual, but yeah, we'll get back to that in a minute. Anyway, and I took it inside and I compared it with my CGEM. Now that's hypertuned, but anyway. The declination axis just seemed super sticky. And well, I have the balance point measured out on the dovetail bar here, so I just stuck it on that and just did a little check on it. But it was just so sticky that if I stick the dew shield on, it didn't really budge that much. If I did something here, it didn't. Yeah, so it was like I couldn't balance it properly. So I thought, oh well, that's it then. So sticky that you get like a stiction thing, and it's making irregular movements to the declination. Yeah, that must be it. So with that idea, I contacted Celestron and I asked, like, well, I can't balance it. It's got a problem with declination, and they said, like, well, if you can't balance it, it needs to be serviced. So I sent it back to my supplier for service. And they got it about Christmas time. So after all the holidays, they serviced it and did something to it, and they sent it back, and it was a very little change, really. But what they did do that was a little bit worrying to me, or might still be, I don't know, was that they opened at least 2 more up from different batches, and they all were the same on the declination. Yeah, really the same stickiness to it. So, is it supposed to be like that? Does it work anyway? I mean, is the balancing not that important anymore? Don't know. Anyway, so it didn't really solve it. It was still a little bit. It still had problem with measuring the backlash in declination in guiding system. So I tweaked a little bit myself and got it to a point where I could actually do the measurement, and I still have backlash like 2,000-3,000 milliseconds. Huge backlash. It's the same as on my CGEM really, when it's bad, but it works. It can measure it. It can deal with it. So I just took my hands off it, and I had spikes in right ascension and declination. So I thought, oh, well, that must be like stickiness in the worm gear meshing or something. So I started to work on that and look in the manual, because they have like a instruction for how to work on the spring-loaded worm gear meshing and well, maintain that. So excellent, I'll do that. Yeah, let's look at them. Okay, so if we read here Appendix B, care and maintenance. So the worm gear mesh adjustments using a 2mm and 2.5mm Allen wrench. Make very slight adjustments as needed to optimize the gear mesh. Figure X2. I guess they're meaning figure 13 here. Yes. And it's actually a 3mm Allen. Anyway, so if the worm block does not recoil, the mesh is too tight, or the range limit screw is pushing the block against the worm wheel. So the range limit screw is the small 2mm, and the distance adjustment screw is the 3mm. Yes. So what they say here is actually that you should turn the range limit screw clockwise. Now clockwise, that is actually, you know, in my world, that's right. Yeah. I dare you to loosen the range limit screw or the distant limit screw, any of them, by turning them clockwise. Yeah. If you can do it, good job. But I just couldn't. Yeah, no. So anyway, moving on. They say that if the worm block recoils but there's noticeable backlash when the axis is locked, turn the distant adjustment screw counterclockwise very slightly, only 1/16 of a turn or less, and retest. Yeah, so basically what they say is you should go counterclockwise, which is lefty loosey, if the worm block recoils but you have backlash, so you need to tighten it up a little bit. So, and that is also pretty much the opposite way to what you did when you were loosening it up. And if you want to test the range limit screw, you're supposed to, they basically say tighten it. Do they mean it to go righty-tighty, clockwise, or do they mean to go the opposite to what you did when you were loosening it, which was clockwise? You know, I'm getting confused now. Yeah, you know, in the later manuals, they've actually removed these instructions. Yeah. Now I wonder why they removed them. Could it be because they had a lot of support cases, service actions coming up with people screwing up their worm gear meshing by following the instructions, maybe? Yes. Yeah, I wonder what happened there. So, anyway, yeah, that's it. So after figuring that out, I basically had to go and do it the correct way and go back to my original meshing as best I could and just try to work from there. I thought, well, maybe I could adjust the backlash myself, you know? So I took them out with a scope on it and pointed daytime at the land object, and I slew it back and forth in both axes and tried to just slightly adjust the worm gear meshing to minimize it. And yeah, I got it to a point where, you know, it could measure the backlash better, and still you had, well, over 2,000 milliseconds of backlash, so never actually solved that. So when I was going to do the worm gear meshing, or the backlash measurements myself, I wonder what the minimum tracking motion was, or slew motion. You have the rate, motor rate that you can set from 1 to 9. So I thought, well, let's look at the manual, what they say. Yeah, let's have a look. Trusty manual. Yeah, so we go to page 15. Here we go. Oh, motor speed button. What does it say here then? Okay, number 9 button is the fastest rate, approximately 3.5 degrees per second depending on the mount. Okay. Number 1 button on the hand control is the slowest rate, half sidereal rate. Can be used to centering objects in the eyepiece. Okay, great, but I think it was a little table. Oh, here we go, page 19. Direction buttons. Hand control has 4 direction buttons in the center of the hand control. To control the telescope motion in altitude, up and down, and azimuth, left and right. Huh. I thought we had an equatorial mount here, but anyway, okay then. So table speed here, 1 to 9. Here 9 is 4 degrees per second. Well, it could vary, they said. And 1 is 2 times sidereal speed. Here, becoming to think that this might be a copy and paste job, this manual. Yeah. Yes. I mean, it reads the manual anyway, eh? Yeah. Well, I do. Fucking hell. When I buy a mount for like $2,500, this is like the manufacturer's interface to me as a customer. This is where they tell me like, oh, thank you for buying our product. We're so proud of it. This is everything you need to know to handle it and maintain it properly and have it working the best possible. Yes. Yes, so that's not off to a very good start, is it? Well, first you screw up your setting with the wrong instructions for worm gear meshing, and they have pretty much everything confused in the on other places as well. So yeah, don't really know what to think of that. I mean, if they can't give a flying fuck, why should I? Really, you know. So for the spikes then, when I did the worm gear meshing, I noticed that the grease on the worm gears, both the shaft and the worm ring, was really dirty. Yeah, it was. You can see on the edge of the worm ring that is transparent, nice clean grease, but inside the gears it's just completely grey. I don't mean to brag, but I mean that's quite a lot of dirt that comes out in that grease. And this mount has been running for, I don't know, maybe 20 hours. Yeah, I can't believe how it could be that dirty after such a short time in service. And it was both axes. I cleaned both of them up, stuck some new grease on there. Thought that was a quick fix. All the spikes and everything was just pretty much just dirt in the gears that it's been running over. Yeah, so thought it was a nice fix, but no, still bad. In the end here, the spikes, that was due to the guide computer or cabling between the guide camera or the mount and the guide computer. So fixing that up solved that issue. So the spikes are not the mount's fault. Yes. Having that done, it's actually working. I mean, I have it outside. It's tracking with a accuracy of about, well, RMS value of about 1.5 arc second, and peak deviations of about 2.5, roughly, both axes. So I mean that's pretty good. You get pretty nice pictures with that. Yeah, good results. So I mean it's working, but I mean the road to this point has been bumpy, to say the least, and it's yeah, you kind of expect the quality control to be top notch, that everything should be, you know, spot on when you get it, and with the manual, I mean, this is what, 5 languages in this thing. So English is about that, what, 25 pages, including the, well, starting from 5. Yeah, I mean, that's, yeah, I know it's nice with a very nice little short manual. However, instead of just removing the section for, say, with worm gear meshing, you could correct it, you know, make it work. And I mean, for crying out loud, I mean, you're referring to a alt-as mount in here, and so yeah. Plus, in, say, the CGEM mount, you had like menu trees for, say, the menus in the hand controller, so you can actually find what you're looking for. You can like pre-plan things when you stand inside instead of when you stand outside, and the control gets a little slow in the cold and all that. So the manual, please. Yes, so it's working. It's been a bumpy ride. When I get something like this, it's always nice to know that you can service it and handle it and fix it if something fails. But when I get something for $2,500, again, I would expect it to be a little bit more, well, quality control before I got it. I would expect it to, well, have a little more, you know, a little bit denser manual and instructions for how to deal with it. When it comes to like the worm gear meshing or the spring-loaded worm gears, I thought that would fix like periodic errors or smoothen that out a lot. I thought it would be giving the backlash, you know, a fix, or at least, you know, smoothen that out. But I can actually see no improvement or reason to have the spring-loaded worm gear meshing compared to this thing. That was pretty much just a touch and feel thing to mesh the gears up, just so that you had just about not binding. So to buy it for the spring-loaded worm gear meshing, I can't really see the benefit here. Belt drive, almost everyone has got belt drive nowadays. So if I could send myself, younger me, a message back to advise me to get the mount or not, what would I say? Well, yeah, I would definitely say that I would, yeah, that's right, Balti. That's what I would say. Okay. So, yeah, speaks for itself, that. Toodaloo, guys. Toodaloo. Yeah, I was really leaving you guys on that note. I really was. But then I was convinced that I'll have to interpret Balti's wise words and give you something else. So the message I would send myself, if I could, would be, dumbass. Fix that mount up, make it proper, spend your time on that, spend your money on buying a sweet camera rig instead. Yeah, that's what you should do. Yeah. But then that works for me. For anyone else who doesn't have a mount in this segment and really want one, well, if you really want Celestron, then nothing's going to stop you. I mean, nothing stopped me, really. So, but if you don't really want that, then, I mean, you can get other things that are cheaper and might give you the same result, really. So that's one option. I do think that the problems I've had is not unique to Celestron. Or the CGX. I can't blame them for the whole. I mean, it's not a specific thing for them, unless it's the spring-loaded worm gear meshing that is causing much of it. But I don't think so. So you can get those problems with anything, I think, and so it's just a flavor of what if you think that one is more prone to problems than the other. I mean, check reviews, check for problem, not just comparing specs, but actually comparing where people have had issues. Yeah, that will give you a more honest side of things when you compare them. Wish I did. And yeah, that's really just that. So Till next time, may the dark side be with you, and toodaloo.